Michael Palin, welcome to Booktopia.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here.
Now, in my head over the last little while, I've been thinking about this Socrates quote: "The unexamined life is not worth living."
Yeah.
What left in life is unexamined for Michael Palin?
Oh, probably what I'm going to do next. Because there's been a characteristic of my life that I've tried to plan things. Always, although I'm freelance, I need to have a sort of a plan, a structure, and it's never worked. I've never sat down and done anything that's remotely parallel to what's actually ended up, because an enormous amount of my life has been a result of meeting certain people at certain times, being pushed in a certain direction, meeting Terry Jones early on in Oxford University, carrying on doing comedy, writing with him, that leading to Python, Around the World in 80 Days, something out of the blue, someone else, I didn't say, look, the BBC, I want to go around the world in 80 days, someone got through to me. So that part of my life, which is a plan, is something which is entirely unexamined.
Do you have a sort of an unused plan that sort of drift off this way and then your life has gone this way, and you're sort of a parallel Michael Palin that's running both ways?
Yeah, no, it's very serendipitous. I just go, and once the flow's going, I go. I don't quite know where it's taking me. I suppose in these books here, in Traffic to Work, I do actually discern the glimmers of some sort of plan, and I think it's to do with sort of touching all bases. I think it's a time. I've had a play in me. I've got to get this play done. And it turns out to be a play called The Weekend, which is shown in London, and with Richard Wilson in. It was absolutely brilliant, but it didn't get very good reviews, because that's what critics are like. They're just liars, creeps. No, apart from the one or two who are very nice indeed. And then at the same time, I thought, I've always wanted to write a novel, and it was in this period, in the early 90s, that finally sort of I grasped the nettle, and wrote a novel, which is actually not even straight out of my head. It's something, an idea I'd had for a television drama, which is called a series called Article for Sale, and in each drama would start with something in the sale room window, which gave rise to the story. In my case, it was Hemingway's fishing chair, and that's what led to the story. And the series never got made, so this idea was around, and I suddenly got this out and I thought, hey, this is going to make a good novel. Problem was, I was writing another novel at the time called Uganda, which I thought about and was going to be significant. It was going about post-imperial Britain, what those remnants of empire, what it does to us, what it does to people.
A big Booker winner, that sort of.
It's going to be a Booker winner,
a
Booker smash. It's going to be Booker, Pulitzer, Boys Own Paper winner. But that just wasn't working. It wasn't really getting anywhere. It was bowed by its own significance. So I started looking at this Hemingway thing, and there it was all written, and it happened very, very quickly.
When you spoke just earlier about the collaboration with Terry Jones, and throughout your writing career up to that point, you'd been very much a writer within a room of other writers. What was it like sitting down with just you and a pen and a paper and your characters in your head to tackle a novel?
I found it really, really difficult. I thought I would really enjoy it, because I wouldn't have to take a long journey to someone else's house to write. I could make my own coffee. Just going to be perfect. And I realised from day two that it was going to be a long, lonely business. I couldn't work at home because there was too much around in my workroom to distract me. So I took a room in Camden Town. It turned out this room had been Dylan Thomas had lived in this house. His caravan was in the garden. And there was this old caravan. It was now all overgrown, and there were these cats who just slept all day long on top of Dylan Thomas's caravan. I was bewitched. I couldn't write a thing. I thought, oh, wow. Come to me, Dylan. The spirit of Dylan Thomas, help me here.
He just went, how many drinks did he?
Yes, well, exactly. Did he get up the stairs? And I did enjoy the process. I found that at certain times, when I was trapped by the story, I didn't know which way to take it. The characters weren't sort of going in the right direction. I could have done with a partner in crime then.
Yeah.
And I realised how productive it was when Terry and I worked together and wrote stuff for Python. And then, of course, we went we took our material to the Python table and read it all out. So it was really cooked through in various sources by the time it was completed. So yes, the answer is on certain bad days it was just grim. I just thought, why am I doing this? What a stupid way to earn a living. But I persevered, and as all writers say, Hemingway himself kept me going because he'd made said lots of wise things about writing. He just said, you've got a way to write a novel. He said, go on through the thing to the end. Something simply, suitably Hemingwayish.
There are some wonderful bits in his novels where he's describing
yes.
the process.
Yeah.
But in your diaries, the way in which you accept these little challenges that drop in front of you, a novel for some people is like a climbing Mount Everest to try and get hold of, taking up the travelling idea, filming as a serious actor in GBH. When I went to England in 1991, one of the first things that I saw on TV there, because I'd known you from Monty Python, you know, this very funny character actor, and then you're very serious in this miniseries, which is absolutely, I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was a good series, great series. Yeah.
How does the transition to, because a lot of comedians go, I'm not really a serious actor, I shouldn't be doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But you just jumped straight in and took it on.
I think I'm an actor first and foremost. When I was growing up, I loved acting, and acting didn't mean comedy necessarily. In fact, it was the kind of serious films on the waterfront and things like that. And I thought, hey, I'd love to be an actor like that. Very grim things. And I thought if you can reproduce that, and if you can reproduce pain and suffering as well as humour, then that's the stuff of being an actor. So I suppose I wasn't really looking to to do comedy primarily. I just was in the back of my mind. I knew I could act, and was actually looking for some challenges. Python was challenging in a way. It sounds silly, but we all had to play lots of different characters in each show. You had to change very quickly from one to the other. You had to make sure there was something distinctive and definitive about the character you're doing, even if you only had one line. It's. I worked on that. Voice production. All that sort of the beard, the outfit, the sea. That was just one little thing. So that had to be right. So I think it's all comes. I think acting was first, And so when someone came along and said, "Look, we've got this series based in Liverpool, and it's all about politics, and it's very gritty, and you're going to play a schoolmaster who's being intimidated by thugs," I was touched that someone could see that I had acting abilities beyond Python. And it was just after we'd done Fish Called Wanda, another comedy role. So it was just nice. Someone said, well, you can obviously act. And in a sense, comedy is very good training for acting. It's quite difficult to act comedy. So I was just really delighted to be given the chance to do something quite straight. And I've just done another one in the UK called Remember Me, which is about, it's a ghost story. It's a three-hour, rather wonderful supernatural thriller set up in Yorkshire, which I play an old guy, he's 80, maybe 90, mysterious man. Is he real or isn't he real? And that was kind of a bit of serious acting. I was so pleased that someone had remembered me and offered me this great part.
Well, that GBH did leave an impression on me, and it sort of changed my impression of you. One of the things that came out was, and it's partly the great acting, because everyone knows you're a bit of a bastard, but the nice guy that came out within that, and I get that in the diaries. The thing that you find in the diaries is that and I think diaries have that effect on people, to get both the light and the dark, because you're writing it on the spot. I know you edit it, but it looks to me you edit it with an eye to an objectivity and trying to present yourself in the both. He's a bit of a bastard here. He's not that. He's good here. He's done the right decision here. He hasn't done the right decision there. And so it's open. It's kind of revealing.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I was interested because I know you've got the edited versions, but in 100 years, and someone's rustling through your papers, will there be the unedited version there for historians or for people who are interested in representing that time? Because there isn't much material out there. That we're all on email, we're all on phone. Yeah. A lot of the stuff that's not being recorded.
Yeah.
And to have this wealth, and you were talking earlier today about the political diaries and other people using your diaries as a sort of a touch point to give a sense of what's going on in the world. Yeah, without those kind of diaries, we're kind of lost. Historians are lost, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I'm not planning to release any more diaries at the moment. The reason being, I think it's got to be a good gap between, where we are now and the historical perspective going back to the 90s or the 80s. But the diaries will be available in archive form for people to look at after I'm long gone, and I think they will be interesting. I like keeping diaries because I enjoyed reading other people's diaries, and I mean, Virginia Woolf is one of my favourite diarists, and I found some of her books kind of quite hard work, but the diaries are brilliant. There's so much little detail there. There's detail about her, days of distress and days of self-doubt, and then she's just walking around London and not doing much, just a sunny day, and she notices something in the street. And something in the street now, you just pass by, something in the street in 1906 suddenly has a significance. Was it the first car or what was going on there? There's a story to it. So I think it's the fine detail of a life is really, really important. And I'm quite crusading about the fact of trying to get people now to commit to writing a diary. I mean, writing a diary, not just a blog. Get a little book and fill it up. I'm really pleased I've got these little notebooks in which I just wrote, and I kind of tell when I open them almost how I felt on a day from the handwriting. Sometimes a lot of crossings out. You realise I'm under pressure doing this quite fast. Others I've obviously haven't taken time. The handwriting's good. You can read everything. Some are very well expressed. Most are just rushed, with infelicitous sort of bits of grammar and not the things I want to say. But that's the way it is. It's a good rag back, and I do hope they'll all be there. Yeah.
One last question. It's been buzzing around my head over the last little while. In Australia, there's been a lot of noise, a lot of terror laws and that sort of stuff coming up, and a lot of hysteria. If some famous comedy group, say something like Little Britain or one of these sort of groups, came to you and said, "Look, we'd really like to do a movie that's not about Muhammad, just like you did a movie that wasn't about Jesus. What do you think?" What sort of advice would you give in this climate for somebody who was going to make a political statement or a satire like that?
I'd say be careful.
Yeah.
Think about it. We never had to think about it. Our lives were at risk when we did Life of Brian. We knew it'd be a lot of disapprobation and disagreement, and people wag their fingers. We thought that's great. These are precisely the people who we ought to be sort of crossing. It's just changed now. I mean, because you do get people who go out on the street and shoot either yourself or your family or someone else who's related to it. Some poor, like the Danish publisher of the Satanic Verses and things like that. This is a crazy side. So you just got to think about that. I mean, I do buy the argument that if you're a writer, you should be able to write about anything. If you're a comedian, you should be able to make comedy out of anything. And I totally agree with that. I just say be careful, because things have changed.
Michael Palin, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
All of Michael's books are available at booktopia.com.au right now.